Cowboys Nation, listen up because what I'm about to say could change the entire trajectory of the season and possibly even the long-term legacy of this team, and I don't say that lightly. I'm talking about the explosive possibility that the Dallas Cowboys are on the verge of making a major defensive move by signing veteran cornerback Mike Hilton, and while it hasn't been officially announced yet, the buzz, the rumors, and the behind-the-scenes whispers are becoming too loud to ignore, and if T. S actually happens, if Jerry Jones and the Cowboys front office pull the trigger on this move, we could be looking at a game-changing shift in the entire NFC playoff picture, because adding someone like Mike Hilton isn't just about depth or experience, it's about attitude, it's about grit, it's about locking down that nickel corner spot with a veteran who knows how to play chess when the rest of the field is playing checkers, and when you take a step back and think about what Mike Hilton brings to the table, you start to realize just how perfect this pairing could be, because Hilton isn't just some random free agent floating around in the pool. This is a guy who carved out a career in Pittsburgh as an undrafted underdog who fought his way onto the field and eventually became one of the league's most respected slot corners, and then he went to Cincinnati, helped them build a defense that took them to the Super Bowl, and now here he is, still in top physical condition, still sharp mentally, and still hungry to compete. So the big question is, why not Dallas, why not now? And honestly, the more you look at it, the more sense it makes, because let's not kid ourselves. The Cowboys are in win-now mode. This isn't about rebuilding or developing talent anymore. This is about capitalizing on the prime years of players like Micah Parsons, Trevon Diggs, CeeDee Lamb, and Dak Prescott. It's about putting the final pieces in place to take the next step from playoff team to Super Bowl contender. And when you examine this roster top to bottom, it becomes crystal clear that one of the soft spots, one of the areas where we could use real reinforcement, is in the slot corner position, especially with the way offenses are playing today, spreading defenses out, attacking underneath, targeting mismatches in space, and trying to exploit young or inexperienced defensive backs in crucial moments. And when you look at the Cowboys' recent playoff exits, what do you see? You see offenses explode. The middle of the field, finding openings in zone coverage, forcing missed tackles on quick slants and outs, and you have to ask yourself, would Mike Hilton have made a difference in those games? And the answer is almost certainly yes, because Hilton is a student of the game, he anticipates routes, he reacts quickly, and he hits like a safety despite being only 5'9", and let's not forget the leadership factor, because this is a player who's been to the mountaintop, who understands the grin of a full season, the intensity of the playoffs, and the mental preparation it takes to win in this league. And adding that kind of presence to the Cowboys' locker room would be invaluable, especially for a young secondary that's still developing and needs a veteran voice who can set the tone, hold guys accountable, and elevate everyone's level of play. And let's also not forget the scheme fit, because under new defensive coordinator Mike Zimmer, the Cowboys are likely to lean into more disguise coverages, more exotic blitz packages, more pre-snap movement and deception, and guess what Mike Hilton excels at? That's right, those exact things. Hilton is a blitzing monster from the nickel. He's one of the best in the game at timing those rushes, slipping through cracks in the protection, and making life miserable for quarterbacks who thought they were just dealing with another short corner. And when you pair that with the pass-rushing chaos that Micah Parsons and DeMarcus Lawrence bring, you start to realize just how devastating this defense could become with Hilton in the mix. Imagine lining up against Dallas on 3 road and 6, Parsons rushing off the edge, Diggs locking down the outside, and then boom, Hilton comes flying in from the slot on a delayed blitz, forcing a bad throw or even a sack. That's what we're talking about here. That's the kind of situational flexibility Hilton provides, and it's something the Cowboys could desperately use in key moments against high-power defenses like the Eagles, the 49ers, or even the Lions, because when the playoffs roll around, it's not just about raw talent, it's about details, about matchups, about who can outthink and out-execute the opponent, and Hilton is one of those guys who thrives in those mental chess matches. Now I know some fans might be worried about his age. They might say he's past his prime or slowing down, but that's just lazy analysis, because if you actually watch the tape from last season, even in a Bengals defense that was dealing with injuries and inconsistency, Hilton was still sharp, still breaking up passes, still making key tackles in space, and still playing with that same chip on his shoulder that made him so dangerous in Pittsburgh. And even if he's not the every-down starter he once was, the Cowboys don't need him to be. What they need is a smart, savvy veteran who can come in on passing downs, lead the younger DBs, and provide clutch plays in the biggest moments, and that's exactly what Hilton brings. Now let's talk contract, because I already know what the skeptics will say. They'll say Dallas won't spend the money. They'll say Jerry Jones is too cautious when it comes to signing free agents this late in the offseason. But let me ask you this. How much would it cost the Cowboys to not make this move? How much would it cost them in terms of playoff positioning, missed tackles, busted coverages, and ultimately another early exit from the postseason? Because the cost of N.O.T. addressing this hole in the roster could be way higher than a short-term veteran deal with incentives. And if Jerry and the front office are serious about winning now, if they truly believe this roster is ready to contend, then this is the kind of move you make without hesitation. You bring in Hilton, you get him acclimated to the system, you let him learn the terminology, build chemistry with the safeties and linebackers, and by midseason he's already a major contributor, and by the time the playoffs arrive, he's your secret weapon, your slot assassin, your chess piece that offenses can't account for. And let's not forget the optics here. The message this move would send to the rest of the league and to the fanbase, because signing Hilton would be a statement. It would say we're not sitting back, we're not waiting around, we're going for it, we're loading up, and we're taking every opportunity to improve this roster and chase that elusive 6th Lombardi trophy. And man, what a moment it would be. Imagine the crowd at AT&T Stadium erupting as Hilton makes a key third down stop or comes up with a game-sealing pick. Imagine the emotion, the energy, the redemption of bringing in a guy who's been doubted his whole career and letting him shine on the biggest stage in the sport. That's not just good football, that's good storytelling, that's legacy stuff. And Hilton is the kind of guy who fits right into the Cowboys' historic narrative of stars who defied expectations and rose to greatness. So as we sit here today, watching training camp footage, listening to press conferences, and wondering what moves the front office might have up their sleeve, this is the one that stands out, this is the one that feels like a no-brainer, and it's not just about filling a gap on the depth chart, it's about maximizing this roster's potential, it's about preparing for the long grind of the season and positioning yourself to be at full strength when it matters most. And if that means bringing in a proven winner like Mike Hilton, then I say do it, and do it now, because windows in the NFL don't stay open forever. And this Cowboys team has everything it needs to make a run. All it takes is one more smart move to push them over the top, and Mike Hilton might just